work with a lot of leaders and we talk about instructional leadership because that's the thing, right? We're supposed to be instructional leaders. But the reality is there are people that say, listen, I've got social emotional learning. I've got a crisis that I'm dealing with. I don't always have the chance to be an instructional leader. But on the other end of the spectrum, which was really interesting, is that I've got people that come to me and say, when you're talking about instructional leadership, like we want our school leaders to be content experts in all of the grade levels that they're leading. And I think that is really a difficult thing to be able to do. It's actually impossible. And I think there are other things that we can ask leaders to do beside, yes, they need to know some of the content, absolutely, but I think it's better that they need to know how to ask the right questions. So when it comes to instructional leadership and when it comes to leadership coaching, what I like to look at is sort of 4 areas when it comes to leadership coaching. Number 1, when we're looking at instructional leadership, it's about instructional strategies. What are some instructional strategies that are going to give us the biggest bang for the buck? That's something that is really good for a leader to know because it's universal, regardless of what class they go into. Then we've got things like student engagement. A few weeks ago, I did one of these research shorts on Janet Clinton's research about teacher talk versus student talk. So when we're looking at student engagement, it's about, is it authentic engagement or compliant engagement? That's something that's really worthwhile for a leader to know, and it's an important part of instructional leadership. But when we're talking about content, and yes, I can look at you and say, listen, I was not a chemistry teacher, so when I come into your classroom to observe, or when I come in to do a walkthrough, what goal are you working on in chemistry, and what vocabulary do you think students should know? So when I sit down next to the students and ask them what they're learning, what vocabulary would you hope that the students will be able to use with me? And then last but not least is collective efficacy. Collective efficacy is something that's really important. It's about how do we get teachers to work together. Now, it doesn't always mean your whole staff. Many times when I talk about collective efficacy, people think it means getting your whole staff together, and that's awesome if you can get your whole staff to believe in each other. But why don't we start small? What's wrong with a grassroots effort? Why can't we look at something like our PLCs? Many times our PLCs function where they're just meeting at a time. It's not supposed to be about that. It's supposed to be what they're diving into together. Or your stakeholder group. I had a principal's advisory council. I had 2 co-chairs and a representative from each grade level and special area. We believed in each other, so that's collective efficacy. When we started to look at a challenge that we were facing, or when we were looking at ways to increase student engagement within our school, look at a grassroots effort and look small when you're looking to build collective efficacy. Those 4 topics alone under the umbrella of instructional leadership shows just how complicated it is to be a leader. How do we work together to actually get leadership to grow, because they can't do it on their own? Thank you for your time.